Hello. Hopefully things are doing alright with y'all today. Today I'm feeling pretty exhausted, so I thought why not do something with one of my favorite categories of channels I watch nowadays, which happens to be ASMR. Although I don't have much experience with it myself, it's something I use a lot to go to bed. So I thought I might do something with it, make a meal out of it. What I'm gonna make a meal out of, I have no idea. Might just be peanut butter and jelly. But hopefully the music won't be too distracting and my bug eyes won't bug out that much. But I thought I'd be interested in sharing with you guys my character vault because someone has to write these off as tax exemptions, or else I'm just collecting dust on all these characters. And I really want to play them. It's been 84 years since I've played them. But that's what happens. Usually. I know. Hi, Pickle. Yes, my 42 characters. Yeah, it's, I just wish I could use them all, but I can't. So, that's a bit of an issue. In any case, I thought I might show off a few things, especially when it comes to characters. A big thing is creating your backstory. It's usually not, well, it's usually pretty important. Not for the fact that you need to have your entire history fleshed out, but a story or backstory is pretty important so you know what your character is going to do. And that's hard. I've tried my best to sort of give each one a unique backstory or history, so hopefully for anyone who is yawn you, I know I am yawning. Hi Asher, how are ya? Ew, my buggy eyes, I hate them so much. Glad you can make it. Although, I wonder how ASMR this is gonna really be besides me. Oh, you're good. The soft voice is relaxing. Oh, thank you. I originally wanted to start out by doing ASMR content, and we're working on it. That's all I can say. But I thought, why not tell you some stories from good old Pop Pop. Not that I'm that old, alright? Don't get in your heads. Do not let the abs distract you. Or maybe you should. Ow. Not 5 minutes in and it's all coming to shit. I have sleep in my eyes because I'm sleepy. Anywho, when it comes to backstory, I've got something for you too. You're thinking of doing ASMR too, but probably would just read a book or something. You don't know if you have the voice for it. Well, luckily, a lot of ASMR, it's not only just like triggers, but you could also do things like role plays and triggers. I think that's the majority of it, but people let you read as well. I don't think it's really a matter of not having a voice, but more so just finding something you can easily whisper. Apparently, ASMR actually kind of hurts the throat if you do it for too long. Speaking too quietly kind of isn't good for your throat. But Mama didn't raise no bitch, so might as well. In regards to stories, hopefully the music isn't too loud either. I wouldn't want it to be too distracting. I just sort of have it on at the moment, you know, because background music. But in terms of how to create a backstory and a background and history for each of your characters, that's totally up to the person, but spending as little time as I do, I've sort of created a quick outline that I like to use for my characters. Hopefully it's not too small and not too blinding. It is late at night for me and probably later everywhere else. But I usually like to make a really quick, like messy outline for a character just to have some talking points. Let me zoom in a little bit, maybe that'll help. That's fine. But usually after my character creation, or even before character creation, I always think of like, what's a creative way to flavor the class I want to play. A lot of the times that just involves being on Pinterest for like hours on end to find the right character model, but my process changes a little bit from time to time. Usually it's just after creating a character sheet or deciding on what class I want that I'll start thinking about the flavor and what kind of character they want to be, or whatever I want to play. But once I have that idea sort of figured out, I usually just go ahead and plop it in here. Things like a physical description, I just place in the top. Anything that, you know, is physically unique about the character. Then I usually do the backstory as like a biography. Usually just starting with like their family, if they have any. Most people, or most adventurers, are usually orphans. Don't know what that says about adventurers or orphans, but Everyone gets to have their moment to shine, right? Usually I make the important details a major life event, and then whatever things I want to remember about it down below. And then I just sort of give a quick blurb. This is sort of the acting portion, the acting notes about how and what my character does in order to help me with figuring out how to play them. After a long day of standing, he gives a big yawn because he is small and tired and sleepy. I forget what that audio goes, or the entire audio, but I definitely want to use that in a clip. I've been trying to make more shorts, and that's generic shorts, not clips from videos, because that's kind of hard, and I'm really lazy to go back and look through so much of my audio and video portions. Honestly, not that exciting, I have to admit. Ow. Something's bothering my ear. Ow. No idea what it is. Stupid. Ow. Okay. Random pain and pimple besides my ear aside. Mostly I just plug in whatever information I'd like key notes, key points from my sheet. But I think it might be a little better to explain by actually looking at one of my finished sheets, because I've got a lot of them. I've sort of sectioned them off by what's it called? My idea behind creating 42 freaking characters actually just came from me wanting to be prepared. So there's technically 14 classes available, and I basically made 3 generations of characters for each class, which got me my 42. You do not have to be as thorough as I do because I have no life. So this was to fill that in, my lonely void, and just be ready to play whatever kind of character if I ever find something online to play as. I see here. Let me actually take a look at this one. I don't know if you can kind of see the details here, but this character I pulled up, for example, is a Gen 1. Is my Gen 1 druid. She is, if you can't see the picture, she's an elephant lady. She's super chill. And really tall. Elephant people in game are supposed, canonically, up to 10 feet tall. That's crazy. But this is Arusha in Stone 2. She's a Loxodon druid. And let me see if I can pull up her stats here real quick. Or not stats, but sort of how I describe her is Arusha is a female druid. She's tall and powerful, but she still has some curves on her because she's a lady. She's got pretty elephant, wrinkly gray ashy skin with blue eyes and wears red robes of gold jewelry. And usually she carries a staff with her. In terms of the biography, again, it's like a bit of um, just a bit of a simple outline. Arusha sort of worked as a family herder and farmer, and sort of lived in the Sahara kind of grasslands or desert lands. But unfortunately for Arusha, a lot of her grasslands were constantly ravaged by seasonal fire, so it happened to be quite difficult for her to maintain her way of life. In that case, and if you don't know this already, Wizards of the Coast is also behind the popular game of Magic the Gathering, and that's why Selesnya exists here. For the uninitiated, that just means there are elements of Magic the Gathering also included in D&D. It's pretty cool. I don't play Magic the Gathering, at least not really, but I like little bits and pieces of it. In any case, Arusha actually met some missionaries, some other druids that were on a missionary trip to provide support, and when Arusha asked them for help, she decided to join them too, because she thought she could do something better than just growing grass and being a farmer. Although Farmville 2 is quite addictive, so download it. When she joins the group of druids in the druid circles, she then goes ahead and becomes a bit of a teacher, sort of training the new generations of druids, especially with her such a long life that she has. She can sort of train and watch over as many people as possible until, again, something happens in her homelands, and this time it happens to be a poison or a blight. And so, with her specialty being a land druid, it really makes sense for her to go ahead and investigate further. So, that's a little bit of Arusha. Go ahead and ignore that. Let me just change that because I hate that. And usually add the ages here just to sort of figure out like when, just timeline for myself when certain big events happened. Loxodon lived for a long time, so nope. Okay, that was just bothering me. But in any case, Arusha, and this is the part about personality and notes, I just sort of give little bits and pieces of her, of what she thinks and what she's like, so that I can play the character properly. Although I usually delineate from this a lot. It just depends on the game and what your DM is comfortable with adding or taking away. This is just all of my own headcanon, so it's always going to change when it comes to being used for an actual game. And lastly, I sort of just plugged in the details I got from D&D Beyond. So, that's sort of it. these, there are a few characters that are my personal favorites. I might want to talk about them a bit more too. Ew, what was that face? That was a horrible looking face. Oops. Hopefully you can hear that now. I'm trying to make sure this background audio is not too loud at all. But there are some of my favorite characters in here. Let me see. Oh, that's good. Glad you can hear it. I think my personal favorite character that I've played so far definitely has to be my warlock. Funny enough, this was going to be Pickle's other choice for a race in class. Not class, but a race for sure. Because Miss Vanya Artemov over here is a angel person. She is an Aasimar. So she gets to be a scary goth mommy, but also she's a warlock, so that has its own implications. Goth mommy pog, quite literally though. I have someone probably a little gothier, or maybe not. I'll have to figure that out. But Miss Vanya has been my favorite character because I personally love warlocks. Warlocks, for anyone who doesn't know, is a class in D&D that basically comes with a contract. As a warlock, you usually make pacts with some supernatural entity, and I think that's why I like it, because I'm very business oriented. So working indentured servitude is pretty par the course. Pickle would probably pick this too if they realized, because you can choose a patron, your boss, and there's a lot of different types. Could be angels, could be devils, could be little fairy people, or big fairy people. But this one in particular is really fun. This is one of the most recent ones. My patron, my boss, is a genie. And the best part about it is that, yes, I do get a genie lamp. And it's basically my mobile tent, my mobile apartment that only I get access to. But the interesting part was trying to figure out her accent. If you can't tell from the name already, I definitely went an interesting Russian route, and I definitely put on quite the thick Russian accent for this character, and I think I do a pretty good job of it. Her story behind her, I think, is a little... It's kind of wishy-washy, I'll be honest, because it was kind of packed with a lot of stuff. Yeah, she's not... I forget. I need to change her name. There we go. But Vanya was very edgy. Quite the edgy character, so goth mommy made sense to me. Again, she's a female Aasimar warlock. She's quite toned, and red-brown is wrong because she now has black hair. Just based on her character picture. Ew, mucus. But the unique details about this is why is an angel working for a genie? Who knows? The other weird part is that she has some weird textures on her skin, and no, it is not eczema. Y'all got eczema? And she sort of dresses really like a exotic sort of dancer with very beautiful red silk and other gold adornments and jewelry. So in terms of Vanya's early life, it's kind of grim. Again, being an angel person has its perks, but then again, you're kind of a big deal because Vanya would have access to magic, and so at a young age she was taken and sold off to someone, sort of abducted and kidnapped, and sort of magical experiments were done on her so they could figure out what exactly she was. My headcanon, and usually the official canon, is that every Aasimar is sort of this like half angel, half human or mortal kind of thing, and I believe in the lore, actual angels like still have a connection to these Aasimar, so they still get angel parents or someone to talk to them, and so I just chose a name for one of them. And the angel basically told her, "Girl, you gotta get out of there," and she was like, "Bet, let's get the hell out of here." She went ahead and got her Deus Ex Machina powers and sort of busted her way out as best as she could, with the help of a little artifact that happened to be a little magical oil lamp. But after she escaped, she sort of was traveling on her own at her young age for most of her early adult life, so she was kind of adrift and ended up just sort of following whatever her angel mom wanted, or whatever her genie patron wanted, because the genie was also quite the powerful one too, but you know, being trapped in a lamp doesn't really help doesn't really help with your status. So at some point she, traveling through the desert, would have probably gotten used to wearing, exotic clothing, like silks and light clothing like that nature, and so she would have been one hell of an exotic dancer. If you know of Genshin Impact, you know of Nailu, and that's absolutely how I think Vanya would probably dress too if we play that. In any case, she meets one of my other characters while traveling in the caravans that are sort of usually beset by bandits in the region, and Theo happens to feel a close connection and want to protect her, so she sort of gains an additional travel buddy. Personally, it's kind of hard playing a warlock because it's kind of main character vibes, main character syndrome. There are so many things that are happening, so it kind of depends on your DM if they're gonna give you a lot of interaction with your character and your boss, your patron, or if they just decide to ignore most of it. Luckily mine didn't, and I got a bit of an Aladdin vibe from it, so that was pretty fun when I played her. Unfortunately, that game kind of crashed and burned pretty early on, so it didn't last too long. But in this case, in terms of her personality, I sort of thought she should have some rich tastes for being a treasure hunter, for being a genie, right? So, she's a strong, independent woman who definitely speaks her mind a lot. And at the moment, she is sort of looking to get her vengeance properly on everyone who decided to mess her up as a kid, so she's got a bit of grit into her story. Not everyone's like that, I think. But then again, I love a little trauma. You do not have to give your characters trauma, because they'll probably experience it during their travels, but every good writer knows to spice up their character with a little bit of pain, right? Especially in things like fanfics. I haven't written one in years, and now I'm back in the game, so, you know. It's on my Twitter if you saw it. Funny enough, with a lot of the characters that I've thought about creating accents for, or like want to use an accent on, I've created a bit of a cheat sheet for each of the like common slang that each of the characters would have. In this case, because Rania has a Russian accent, it's very confusing. Don't ask about it. I sort of searched up some common Russian slang words, and I just like throwing them into conversation without any context. It's kind of hard, but I like the voice acting training. Not that I'd be a voice actor, although I kind of want to be one. It seems pretty cool. Plus, you get to go to Comic-Cons, you know, hopefully for free, so. The perks are real, people. The perks are real. So that's Vanya, and I don't want to embarrass myself by doing it now, but you know, there's plenty of times and opportunities to do such things. I did not think this would be such a popular accent of mine. It's more Transylvanian than anything, but, well, vaguely Eastern European is all I can do at this point. I also can't roll my R's as well. I don't have a very long tongue, so it can be difficult at times. But nonetheless, Vanya is a very enchanting and charming woman. Got absolutely whatever she wanted as long as she didn't fuck it up. And trust me, she fucked up a few times. Like, a few big times. But hey, not every angel is perfect, so don't blame her. Blame the game. I also like Warlocks a lot because they have very limited resources, so just talking about the game-wise itself, because they don't have that many things to really help them out. You gotta be really creative and do a lot of things with like being creative with items or plants or things like that. So you know, it happens. But looking back on her other sheets, there are really some other of my favorites in the other gens too, in Gen 2 and Gen 3. I'm actually pretty proud of all these. And I don't know if you can kind of notice here, I tried to sort of make as varied of a list as possible, because I just thought it'd be fun to really like create a character, or like create as many characters as possible with a different race. And I thought that was just kind of fun for myself, because you sort of get a different flavor not only from your class and whatever type of backstory you want, but also the race can help a lot. If you look at like the lore and sort of take little pieces from it, I think you're gonna enjoy this one too, Pickle, even though you don't know much about it. Because, for example, I, in the same vein of loving warlocks and working under a patron and boss, made Chloris. And the interesting thing about Chloris is that she is a goblin that basically works for an eldritch horror as a lawyer. She is basically the DOA, and you can already see from her picture, she's got that smarmy lawyer look on her face. She's ready to object to anything and everything, and I am like so ready to like be a rules lawyer and just just be a hard ass, because why the hell not? Lawyers exist. Lawyers are crazy good at their job, even if they are Saul Goodman. Especially if they're Saul Goodman. Are you kidding me? Yeah, see, oh my god. See, I told you you'd like him. So this is Chloris. She's a goblin. She's been a barrister for a good amount of her time. And basically, she works for Cosmic Horror as their legal defense team. So, in case Cthulhu wants to eat up another universe, she's got her back. In the court of law. Whether that be physics or otherwise. I haven't figured out her accent just yet, but I think if anyone has watched Bones, I forget the actual name of the actress, but there's one particular character that is just this like hard ass badass woman. It's her female defense attorney, and she's like always ready to throw some shit down in case anything happens. She's like one of the best lawyers too. I totally forget. I know the character's name is Caroline. I just can't remember the actual actress's name, because she's also really cool. I also thought about inspiration for Chloris to be like if her personality was something like Bertha from 2.5 Men, just the most like no nonsense, like just tough ass bitch who's seen too much in the lawyer and defense in the criminal justice system, which is much less criminal and, well, much less justice and very much more criminal. So she definitely has to have all of her talking skills on point. Let me see if I have her here. I think she's a Gen 2 character. Yes, she is a Gen 2 character. So Chloris, again, just this little sickly goblin, definitely less than 5 feet, and she's got this pale skin with large ears and sort of red eyes, probably from, canoodling with the dark arts and an ancient cosmic and eldritch horror. She sort of wears this, if goths went to court, it's giving Kim. See, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's giving Kim, absolutely. Very like, that's a good thing. Yeah, see, I assume so. Yeah, but I think, and I have a bit more of a blurb just because this goblin in particular lives longer. But in general, yeah, she sort of is just a person who's seen too many things happen and losing cases, so she decided to start her career as a lawyer. Again, really cynical, really precise, really like debate heavy, and is like ready to shut down somebody. I forget her accent, but I think it's gonna be some sort of like Georgia accent or something of that sort. Maybe somewhat southern. But I think the agreement with her patron is that she she gets powers from her cosmic horror boss. In return, she just does a good job and like causes chaos by essentially being a bit of a corrupt lawyer. I mean, if you've ever seen Suits, then you know what you're talking about. The Suits is apparently a really good drama about lawyers and stuff, and I haven't seen it, but it sounds pretty cool too. But it's very that. So I think it'd be really fun to play her too. I haven't had a chance to play her, and I'm also very intrigued by like cosmic horror and sort of psychological stuff. So Chloris is definitely one on my list of like characters I definitely want to bring into a game when possible. Ooh, excuse me. So hopefully it happens. Just saying. Kim is from Nebraska. Gotcha. I could definitely take a look later at that too. I haven't figured out her character just yet, but she's definitely on my top list. Warlocks are absolutely one of my favorite classes, among a few others. Let's see here. There are a few more I think I really liked. One of which was... Oh gosh, there's so many. I'm like realizing how much of a problem this is for me. And no, it's not a problem. I'm just being prepared. There's nothing wrong about that. Let's see here. Ooh, another one of my highly anticipated characters is also Mystra. Mystra is interesting. She's sort of a custom commissioned character that I had done or made. It's hard to tell from her picture here. But Mystra is a Simic hybrid. So basically what that means is that don't know what that was. Party time. Basically, Mystra is a what's it called? What's her name? She's Ursula. She's like she's like an octopus sort of hybrid thing. You can kind of see a little bit in her details, like her hair, sort of tentacles. And the interesting about her full character art is that the way I designed her, I just had this idea of like, what is the most, like one of the most grooviest, like weird ocean animals I could think of, and there was like a glow-in-the-dark octopus. I think it was like a blue ring octopus that like glowed blue, and I was like, perfect, we'll take that as inspiration. And from there I sort of thought of like the vibe, how she was gonna act, and she became very much a character from that 70s show. She's basically Donna. Just, if you can tell already, like her character art has her like full, like she has a Brazilian blowout, you know, she's got the full blowout out hair, she's got like the groovy sort of like crop top and like frilly things, she's got pants, you know, low waist pants and platforms. I don't remember where I put the picture of the commission. I think I do have it though. Of course I have it. I've spent money on it. I better have it. But with Mr. here, she's a bit of a sorcerer, so she's sort of got her own special bit of magic and magical powers that she just gets from herself. She just gets from being a groovy octopus lady. Like Ursula, but trippy. I gotta rewatch The Little Mermaid. I haven't seen it in so long. How does it end again? I don't think I've genuinely seen the whole like movie from start to finish. There's a lot of movies I haven't finished from start to finish, especially just because we keep watching them in class, and that's all I remember. All I remember watching. But she's really cool. At least I like to think so. She sort of has a lot of spells that, in her subclass, is sort of about being this sort of psychic-y kind of. She's got some psychic flavor to it, so she's got some little Jean Grey, a little Jubilee, a little something in there. In her flavor kit. So she's another one Have I played her before? No, but I definitely want to play her soon. I sort of try to make sure I balanced out like having enough male and female characters. It's kind of weird, TBH. Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point of it. I think I really wanted her to be just really strange. I just wanted a strange concept, and I think I solely based it off of like the design. I just wanted some really groovy looking character, and I think that's just what I went with Mystra. So yeah, things can definitely get weird. You don't have to, stick to whatever lore you create for your character. Funny enough, what's another crazy one that I've had? I don't think I have too many crazy ones. Okay, maybe I lied. I do have a few interesting ones. No, the Little Mermaid. Bro, I have... oh, thank you. She's cool. Thank you. But Little Mermaid is weird as hell. I'm just saying. Ariel's underage. The octopus lazy. Oh, I'm glad you like Mystra. But genuinely, Little Mermaid I think is a little weird, because I never... I like know the story at this point, but it's so like I don't know why we're watching her do this. Girl. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So again, yeah, inspiration could hit you from anywhere, and luckily Ursula was one of mine. There's a few. If I think about it, a lot of my favorite classes happen to be the magic classes, just because I've always been a magic person. I like Harry Potter. I like a lot of high fantasy games and wizards and things like that. So, funnily enough, I don't actually like the actual wizard class. The actual wizard class in D&D is so extra because there's a whole other like built-in mechanic where everyone else, like every other Kim Wexler and Ursula, you have taste. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. See, someone gets it. But in terms of like the actual wizard class, like playing an actual wizard by definition, D&D is quite hard because wizards I think are actually the squishiest. Kind of makes sense. They have the least amount of HP, and they get access to like basically any spell they want. They can learn whatever type of magic they want. OT, really? OMG? Yes, exactly. Like, wizards can be really cool, but the issue is that, number one, they're super, 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 super squishy. That's the whole point of wizards. And they can learn a lot of magic, but wizards are my least favorite. Yes, wizards are my least favorite because, well, maybe not. There's one other class, but they're pretty low in my tier list because unlike other magic classes that you can you sort of just like know what type of spells and magic you want, and you sort of just pick them and you just like automatically learn them, right? You just have them. Wizards, you actually have to put in the time and effort to expand your like magic and like learn new spells. Like there's an actual mechanic in D&D, or at least like basically some sort of ruling for wizards, which basically says if they want to learn new magic besides leveling up, they have to actually go like find the spell they're looking for and use whatever, like it's expensive. They have to actually like spend money to actually like rewrite the spell, learn it, like jot it down. I think it like costs upwards of like 200 gold. It's insane. 200 gold. That's like $200 to learn a single spell. That's the most like scammiest thing ever to play a wizard. You can barely afford anything else. Like most of your money has to go to buying good paper, buying, you know, good ink and materials, and then you have to like spend I think like an hour, you know, or however long it takes to actually copy the spell into your spell book or something like that. And the worst part about it is that there is a thing where if you lose your spell book, you're SOL. You can, if there is a chance that you actually lose your books, that's it. You just lose you just lose your magic, and you have to relearn whatever spells you like didn't take with you or you memorized. I play these games to escape reality, not be reminded I'm poor. Bro, Asher. D&D is all about fantasy, but the reality kicks in hard as hell. You're telling me I have to play a game to pretend to get at least 8 hours of sleep? You got me fucked up. Absolute garbage. It's true though. That's why I don't play Wizard, is because they're so resource heavy. Like you can't buy any cool shit for yourself. Well, you can. You just, you know, really have to save. Wow, that's all something. I know. They're like the most as a wizard, yeah. Exactly, like as a wizard, it's so intense. Like it's so like cost heavy. Like if you need to buy, you know, in game, if like you need to buy other materials or resources or something, you really have to save. Like you have to, in most RPG games, or at least like online games, the wizard class in comparison to online games is definitely like a funded class. Like you have to have money. Like you need to be very good with your money in order to play a wizard, just to make sure like you not only learn new magic, but you also like keep yourself prepared with weapons or armor or whatever you can, materials. So it's a little it's not my favorite. The time investment reminds me of why I didn't go to graduate school. It's not for me. It's not for me. But I made some anyways, just in case. You never know what people like to play, so I like to keep things pretty flexible. But moving from wizards aside, I only have 3, and they're all different flavors. One of which happens to be Narissa up here. So she's a little gnome girly. She's a little short stack, and her sort of flavor is that she is like an investigator. She's a detective, which I think would be quite difficult for her, considering she's only like under 5 feet. She's only like 3 feet tall or something, so she's mad short. But again, she has to learn all of her magic and like actually write in what she does, but she's sort of an investigator. Another one I have is Ulysses. This daddy of a hunk is probably going to be German. Might have to practice my German accent. But he is sort of a professor type deal, and he's also another Aasimar, so he's another sort of angel person. I like my angel people; they're pretty cool. So this is sort of the classic like wizard professor. And lastly, we have Talia here, and Talia is more of my like dark wizard, if that makes sense. She's not evil, but I think she's oh, did I change her? Is she a druid? Why are you a druid? Thought you were a... No, it's fine, you're a druid. Who is my other... Did I accidentally make... Oh, there you are. Never mind. There's Rain. Wrong one. So anyways. So Rain is a bird person. This is a Kenku, so she's a crow. And she learned some necromancy, so she's got some dark magic ahead of her. Just want to be sort of the classic, like, Raven bad guy, Crow bad wizard kind of thing. So she's out here, you know, raising corpses. But she's just lonely, you know, she's just misunderstood, so why not have a friend, right? Other than that, my least favorite, if I was going to talk about some of my actual like least favorite classes, I hate to say it, but I actually don't. Rogues are actually my least favorite. Rogues, I think, are my least favorite class. I've never really been personally into stealth games. I only got Assassin's Creed relatively recently, a few years back, and I have not played through all of them because I'm shit at stealth. The stress of like sneaking around and being good at stuff like that is like hard for me. I am not good at getting not caught at things, so it's hard. And a lot of the rogue classes are pretty about stealth, about sort of moving around, trying to keep yourself quiet and things like that. And a lot of the time rogues are also edgy. It's sort of a meme to just be like an edgelord, like, oh, I'm such a badass because I learned how to steal when I was a kid, when my parents left me here, or something like that. Something to that extent. And a lot of the times, if you are fighting, like in combat... Oh, hello. I forgot this was the thing. When did I get you? I don't know. It's a cool background. I totally forgot about that. But a lot of the features are all about like avoiding sort of being that slippery, you know, classic sort of street thief or con artist or whatever type of sort of criminal or rogue kind of thing you want to be. It just kind of sucks. Personally, it's a little hard for me because you can do a lot of things. They can be quite fast, they can deal out tons of damage, but the rogue itself kind of requires a lot of setup. It's another one of those, like, you have to be really creative to sort of make things work, because you're sort of limited by the things you're given from your class specifically. So I know, Ash, I know rogues are usually pretty cool, but they're not my favorite personally. They're kind of hard for me. I was never really the stealthy person, so I wasn't really meh. Is not for me personally. That's just my taste. So it's okay. But I do remember my actual first character, who will stand out here because she has a little chibi, but Pickle knows about this character, Miss Fennel. Miss Fennel Orissa here is also another, is a halfling. She's basically a hobbit, and best part about her is that she gets to have an animal buddy. Whoa. I wigged out for a sec. But Fennel got to have an animal buddy, and when I first started playing D&D, my dungeon master rewarded my good role playing by letting me have a giant pet frog, or a giant toad, I think, or giant frog. And because she's a hobbit, she basically just rode around on her frog all day. So that was great. I just shouted in French. She had a French accent. Fennel had a French accent. And I just learned French words a lot of the time, which was kind of funny. Really thick sort of Parisian French accent. Did I put them through a name generator or some other way? In the very beginning, I did use some name generators, but a lot. I've sort of grown used to, custom naming and sort of giving them original names as best as I can. In terms of coming up with names, yeah, a lot of them are sort of ethnic names, or I usually like to find a culture to base one of my characters off of. Like with Vanya, the concept of Vanya was like she is a sort of exotic dancer as like her daytime job or whatever she's doing, like for fun or something like that. Hey Onyx, another D&D character. Yeah, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by, Onyx. I'm just being nerdy. You walked in on exotic dancer. Well, I'll explain that in a second. But I usually go by, or I usually, when it comes to like thinking of a story and building the entire personality, I usually start with what special class, like what subclass I choose. So no, don't explain. I got all the info I need. No, you're right. Asher already explained who Vanya was. But yeah, I usually start with the class itself. Like if I'm playing a ranger, I look through the options. So in Fennel's case, I looked at being a beast master ranger, so sort of the classic, like I have like this class is very much about your animals, having an animal buddy. And at some point I sort of thought about, okay, well, if I want them to sound cool, who used a lot of animals? And I thought, okay, well, back in the day we used a lot of animals in war, right? So then went back to sort of the like the French and the British and whatnot, in Europe, using animals for war and just like hunting buddies and things like that. And that sort of grew, like, okay, well, if that's the connection, like from the fantasy world and the real world, I'll usually run with that. I'm like, okay, so the French used, horses and other animals for stuff. Okay, cool. Why don't we try a French name? And that's usually how I go through. A lot of the times I just make the names sound vaguely related to their culture. Other times I just rip off names that I find interesting. So Fennel, I got from the name Fennel itself, just sounds kind of Frenchy. I believe it's the French word for fennel seeds, just fennel. So that just sort of how that came to be. And Orisa, again, is sort of a just something I thought that sounded nice and sort of paired with the name Fennel. So that's sort of how I made it. What did Onyx say here? Onyx says, first D&D character was a orc barbarian. No, he died fighting a vampire lord and got rezzed and finally killed him. And the lord was buffed a bit. Ooh. Luckily, none of my characters have officially passed. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? Oh god. Oh god. Death changes a person. Were you playing Strahd? Were you playing Curse of Strahd? That's like the first game that I think of. So yeah, that's usually how I do it. If you see, like, yeah, playing the campaign since 2019, nice. That's pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of these names I sort of just pulled from, like, sort of just cultural ideas. Let me see another one here. So right, like I was saying with Vanya. Again, my original concept for Vanya was this exotic dancer who's been sort of enslaved by her genie patron, her genie boss, and her genie boss is like, all right, well, you gotta dress the part. So I sort of wanted to give her some sort of interesting accent, and from there I decided on Russian, and the rest was history, because then I sort of thought about names, and I usually look through a lot of cultural names, like Russian names. I was looking for French names, like sort of trying to get a baseline for like what sounds good for this picture I have in my head. So Vanya came up, and I was like, that's pretty damn good. And Artemov is also sort of common surname, so I just take whatever I can from the internet. It is the mark of a thoughtful GM and player to take things off the internet and run with it. Sort of how I came up with this interesting, like, Russian exotic dancer. Big titty goth mommy. That's all. Just because I wanted this one particular type of warlock, this one particular specialty class, and that's usually how I pick them. It's just like, what's the job, and who would make sense to play this job, right? Who to do this job. And so that's usually how I go through figuring out what my classes and names are. I'll give you another example. So here, in D&D, there is the fighter class. Fighter being just literally the name description. Your class is to fight. You're just good at fighting. One particular subclass is the samurai. This is legit. So they're actually the samurai type of fighter. And I was like, okay, we gotta have a Japanese ass looking name. So looking through like the races too, because I think in the D&D there's also like name suggestions and naming conventions for the type of race. Like elves have sort of an elf naming convention. They're gonna have a specific style of name. Goblins have a specific style of name. Humans do. So you can name them everything, but canonically there is like some sort of structure to names. Cohen here again being a samurai, I was like, gotta have a Japanese name. And while looking for art on Pinterest, I noticed the lore sort of changed for hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are basically the like Giga Chad cousins to the short little regular goblins. For pickle's sake, hobgoblins are the Grimmsnarl to the Impidimps of D&D goblins, if that makes sense. I feel like that makes sense. You know, they're smarter, but they're related. They're still goblins, but you know, there's something a little different about these ones in particular. But looking through the Hobgoblin lore and seeing how D&D updated things, Hobgoblins apparently have a lot of art that depicts them in sort of these Japanese, almost this Japanese type of culture, or samurai type of culture, where they're very much about honor. And so I saw a lot of art about like them wielding swords, just being samurai, just being in sort of these Japanese style garbs, in Oriental garb, and I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And so I just sort of quickly went through some Japanese. I looked through a lot of baby names, so I sort of just went through baby names, boy names, girl names, and just sort of picked whatever looked sort of matching and fitting. Which, you know, I like to give a little flavor to everything I do here, so that's why Koen Kunitoshi is like a very clearly Japanese sounding name, because the Hobgoblin, the official lore, is very similar to Japanese ancient culture, things like that. Hey Roxy, how are you, mate? I'm doing all right. We are just nerding out over characters, or at least I'm trying to. I'm sort of revealing all of my little tips and secrets that I do when it comes to creating a character. So I'm just sort of explaining all of my little personality quirks and concepts I create for each of them. But that's how I sort of created Koen here. Ooh, a Japanese character. Yeah, exactly. I was just explaining to Pickle and everyone else earlier, I like to do a lot of I like to add a lot of flavor to my characters. So a lot of the times I look at different cultures to sort of create the right character, the right flavor that I want. So that was one of them. I can give you another example. For anyone who likes Norse mythology. Oh, you're already creating another character with a French bloodline. See? That's what I'm talking about, right? Like, you don't have to base your characters off of whatever cultures and things, you know, of actual interest in the world, but I definitely did. My first character I created is right here, and I have not played her since we stopped, but this is Fennel. Fennel is a French ranger. The most like classic Robin Hood, but with a French accent, so she sounds very very Emily from Paris, and Pickle knows what I'm talking about. This is why I asked Pickle what French media to watch, because I wanted to learn how French people spoke in an accent. And I'd never finished Emily in Paris because that was really boring to me personally. I wasn't there for it, but I heard the French and I know what I sound like. And yeah, a lot of the times I prepare for any characters with accents, I'll prepare like a list of slang that I would like to use. So I have like a whole list on my phone of like French terms that I just throw out anywhere. And I know they're probably like not up to date, which is probably the good point, because we're playing in a fantasy world. So, yeah. The character name is French. See, yeah, you can absolutely go ahead and just take bits and pieces of what you like. In terms of Norse mythology, I also went with this guy here. So this guy, Mr. Vidar Kalag Uluru, is a Goliath. He's sort of a half giant, very haggard, the race itself of Goliath is sort of very haggard, in relation to Harry Potter, this sort of half giant, half mortal looking thing, which I am so sorry for that woman who birthed a half giant. Disclaimer, I do not recommend Emily in Paris unless you want to lose brain cells, sanity, or nothing better to do. Yes, I did not watch past season 1. I maybe watched like 5 or 6 episodes and I was like, this is a choice. He's called Votre vin frivole. Okay. There it is. Gotcha. Okay, that's his name. Okay, that is... Ooh. A little bit of a mouthful. But if you can say it 3 times fast, then you're goated. You got it. But with this half-giant character, translates to your frivolous end. I had, yeah, definitely got that from my grammar comprehension. Because he doesn't value you. Same. Totally relatable. But with this half-giant, and giants are very common in Norse mythology, so I sort of looked at like, okay, where would these sort of giant people live? Probably going to be in the mountains, probably going to have some sort of shared relationship to Norse mythology, so sort of looking back into similar names, what the naming conventions were, and Goliaths have a really long last name, so he works similar at death but never gets inspired. Okay. Oh, are you talking about like Puss in Boots? I have yet to watch that movie. Has anyone watched that movie yet? I feel like I want to watch that movie. It seems pretty cool. Seems pretty fun. I already see a lot of the memes. Each time he kills, he has no remorse. Ooh, damn. Serial killer alert. Just saying. I could make a documentary off of him, and no, not the good kind. But yeah, those are sort of all of the different ways I do it here. There's a Plague Doctor mask, which is made from the French. Of course. Classic Plague Doctor. I do like Plague Doctors too. They're kind of cool. But yeah, I literally have 3 of every class. No, but I have my Scream 6 tickets. Oh, I'm sure you're gonna enjoy that. You're absolutely gonna enjoy that, no matter what. Other than that, who else do I have another French sounding name. I have Mr. Bennett Larousse. Those are just 2 actual names I just put together. Who else do I have that's sort of inspired by names? Senri. Also another Japanese style name because Senri here was designed to look a bit Japanese. And I wanted to play a sort of like exorcist, sort of like the Japanese shrine maiden kind of look, so I chose a shrine maiden picture I just found on Pinterest or Google and just gave her like a mashing of a Japanese name. Look at the character sheets, yeah. But usually how I do and create characters is just start with the class, and I usually sort of flesh it out from there, sort of go backwards and go forwards in both ways. But his mind made him screwed up, which is why... Oh, he's a blood hunter now. Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. Blood hunters do be pretty sick, though. Blood hunters are cool as hell. One of the most edgiest son of bitches I've seen yet. Like, by definition. Very Witcher vibes, which I think was the whole point when Matthew Mercer created the rogue class. Because he said that was his inspiration. Barbarians, got barbarians. Paladin. In fact, the name I haven't showed isn't his real name. It's good to have secrets. It's good to give your character a secret or two to keep things sort of fresh in your gameplay, you know. Although don't be edgy. Try not to be super edgy, because the rest of your players at the table will probably give you maybe 2, maybe 3 why questions, and then that's it. They're just gonna leave the tavern. So try not to aim too edgy, just because you could lighten the fuck up. All right, people. It's a rogue. Most rogues. Oh, that's why I also don't like rogues. Is because a lot of the times thieves are thieves because something bad happened to them, and they're usually very, very edgy. Like Olgier, very edgy. He's a street urchin. Who's another one that I have? Elwyn, he's sort of a, like, what's it called? Assassin looking thing. Diona, also an assassin, so they're all kind of really edgy. Flulia is his real name. Blossom. Yeah, okay. That's actually kind of a cute name for for basically being death itself. The most like Powerpuff Girl of a blood hunter. That's actually really cute. I do like that a lot. There are some interesting ones that I've had. I know one of our characters, one of our players who decided to sign up for our D&D collab, our one-shot, wants to be an artificer, which is basically an inventor. So the inventor class has a few options, and they wanted to be an alchemist. So, this is my alchemist. Rafana is a UNT, she's a snake person. So she uses her own poison and things like that, which I think is pretty cool, pretty fun. So we'll see how that goes. This class in particular, I also don't really care for. The artificer class, again, being an inventor, you actually get mechanics to let you like craft things. The issue is that it's a lot of micromanaging. You have to like keep track of all the things you make because you have limits. You know, you can't be creating like a flamethrower when you're level 1. You know, very like you can't create crazy shit out of nowhere. So there's a lot of micromanaging in the class itself. So I usually don't like that too much. Imagine having a blood hunter Kenku. Facial tick aside, I can't imagine them. I definitely have something similar, but I don't. Not really. But my personal favorite, 7 Blood Hunters. Those have been really fun. I don't know why I think about Blood Hunters, but all of the Blood Hunter characters I have are like just like bad boys. Just like hot bad boys. If you can't tell. This is Gareth. This is a tiefling man. This is a demon man. He got horns. He's hot. That's sort of his personality trait. He's very toxic boyfriend vibes. Cause man's seen some shit. Goofy bird, that caca loves blood. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, make him a vulture. Make him a vulture. But yeah. That's so funny. This is just my idea of someone being gruff and edgy. Fergus. Fergus is also another blood hunter I have too, and he's also got a little bit of a pretty boy look to him, so I do that pretty often. Unless I just have a bugbear. All the way up about here. Someone made art about it, and he's a pigeon. Oh god, could you imagine a blood-drinking pigeon? That would be insane. The real vampires of New York City, just saying. Now available on Amazon, Hulu, and HBO Plus. Or HBO Max. And Hulu Plus. Put that on a show, write it down. That should be right next to Amish in the City, and Pickle knows it. The real house pigeons of freaking Upper East Side. Yeah, a lot of the characters I usually just pull, like, pictures-wise. Pictures usually also help me with figuring out what type of character and personality they're gonna be. Plot twist, a pigeon who's a snack turns into a crow. Oh. Thank you. Cool characters. Thank you. I try my best. Yes, that's what I'm saying, bitch! Could you imagine, like... I love the idea of, like, a D&D, like, parody show. Like, it's all just, like, fantasy characters, all makeup and shit like that, but they're so, like... still so bitchy. Could you imagine? Octopus Lady over here? Absolutely. Homebrewing them. Oh, yeah. Homebrewing also works, too. But so does Amish in the City, which is a very interesting look into the Amish. Hello, Stream Elements. Thank you. You know what I'm talking about. You loved that show. You were obsessed with that show, Pickle. You cannot tell me otherwise. Do I have an Amish person here? Let me see. Maybe I do have an Amish person. Maybe I do have an Amish character. Let me see. Do I have... No, I guess I don't. I don't really have someone, I don't think, that really fits that vibe, that description. No, I guess not. I don't think so. But that'd be interesting. Well, I guess technically, besides Artificer classes, everyone's Amish. No one's seen Wi-Fi for the next 300 years. Heard of the animated series of the D&D Story of Critical Role? Yes. The Legend of Vox Machina, now available on Amazon Prime, has already finished its second season, and so far it's really fun. Personally, I didn't start off watching Critical Role and watching their first campaign. I watched their second campaign, campaign 2, and luckily that one, The Adventures of the Mighty Nine, are also gonna release as well on, so we're gonna get 2 different sort of D&D shows, and the D&D movie I'm not too sure about. I don't know what to think about it, but previous attempts I've heard have been also really garbage. So, hopefully it's not that bad. And if it is, I'm so sorry. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited though. I wasn't personally a big fan of the Tal'Dorei setting, the sort of Critical Role, the Campaign 1 setting for Critical Role, just because it's very classically high fantasy, and I wasn't very much of a fan of like knights and wizards, that like medieval fantasy. That wasn't really what I was into. I was into very anime sort of fantasy, so that was a little different. But it all ended up with me going to D&D, so Dungeons and Dragons. I think I would have picked it anyways, with or without. I'm still surprised that they don't have more. I haven't seen more anime style modules or things like that for D&D. I think that'd be really popular. It'd be super fun. Can I increase my volume? Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead and do that. I just hope it's not too loud because it is going to be a bit peaking. Well, it's an ASMR stream, so it's going to be pretty quiet in the first place. I don't know if the music is too loud and covering over it, but hopefully not. So we'll see how that goes. I was planning on doing triggers too, but I am what they call poor, so I don't have fancy ASMR equipment or a binaural microphone. Both those would be really good to have, though, when I think about it. But oh well. Sweet. Fine, that's cool. Cool. Any more of my favorites that I can definitely show? Yes. Let me think. I have a good amount of characters here, and again, I have all of their sort of backstories lined up. Thinking of being gay, yes. Why not? 'Tis 2023, my guy. The homies are homosexual. It is okay. A lot of mine are queer characters too. I don't see why not. Explore some interesting things in D&D, especially if you're into ERP, which is a whole other avenue to explore or not explore, depending. But yeah, I have Gen 2 and Gen 3. It took me so long to figure out all of these characters and their backstories, just because I wanted to make sure each one had like a separate, excuse me, I wanted to make sure each one had like a separate backstory and like unique flavor, so that definitely took me some time. But we have 14 of each generation, and this is for my own personal headcanon. I sort of just created this like roster list of all of my different characters. They're all color coded because I'm like that. And I sort of just thought about like, if all these characters were gonna be like in a group together, where would they be? So that's sort of like an interesting little, what's it called? Just a little interesting brain exercise for me, looking at the bard section. I see. Yes. The bards being classically horny. Of course they are. Funny enough, I made one very... I did make a bard that was not sexual. I think he's like one of my favorite bards. I shall make everyone preggers. If you lay a dragon, that's like the rare 1% achievement list that you get on your PlayStation achievements. But in Legend of Vox Machina, there is a bard character, and they get freaky. So you're totally not in. That's a very valid statement for bards. Let's just say that. But you don't have to play them horny. That's just the meme-age, the stereotype of them. But Kalis here. Kalis is he's sort of a genie. He's like a half genie. There's a lot of like half interesting half races and mixes here. Just like Zeus did with everybody, genies also like to have their fair share of fun. So this is a Genasi. This is basically like a genie child. They get some interesting elemental powers from their genie parents. But Kalis is a bard, and this one in particular happens to be sort of asexual. I haven't figured that out just yet. Or if relationships come up, that's also something to figure out, is if relationships will be a thing in your campaign that you're playing in with your players, because that's also a good thing to know. If you wanna, be smutty and be romantic and flirty, you definitely could, but you gotta make sure that's okay with players because not everyone's there to have the same kind of good time that you are. I remember someone telling their campaign had a Kenku who could polymorph and hooked up with the dragon and then got pregnant for 1,000 years. That's, oh god, could you imagine? Could you imagine having being pregnant for 1,000 years? Jesus Christ. Dragons usually don't incubate for that long, so that's an adult at that point. But yeah, slaying dragons and laying dragons like the typical like Tuesday for a bard, at least based on all the memes. But then again, funny enough I say that because sorcerers exist in this game. Basically people who are born with magic are sorcerers, unlike wizards who are have to learn their magic. Sorcerers are basically the trust fund babies of magic, and they just get magic. But the interesting thing is the original few bits of official lore about the class was that sorcerers had magic from dragons, so sorcerers are dragon babies. And the idea is that bards laying dragons, 2 + 2 makes 4, I think. So that was interesting for me. And luckily none of my sorcerers are draconic sorcerers. Oh no, I'm wrong. This dude is a draconic sorcerer. Little pretty boy Damien here. He's a sorcerer. That's why he has well, F. I tried to be original. Oh well. Can't escape them all, I guess. And the player had to create a new character while the Kenku stayed with their husband. Yes, I have a similar story about that too. That was a very interesting one. Oh god, does he still have it? I don't think so. I don't know if that. Oh, it probably got erased. I'm so sorry. That was on me. I can't believe I erased it. I forgot. Yeah, no, I've had similar experiences like that too, where a character was like, or a player was like, I'm gonna take care of this, so I'm gonna need a new character. And that took a moment too. Luckily, that campaign ended before we went that far, so I didn't have to think much about it. But yeah. So my so we canonically do have a dragon baby sorcerer on my list. Gotta go with the classics, you know. I'm actually a lot more tired than I realized. Which unfortunately means I probably will have to take a big nap tonight. So I think it might be a good time to call it here for tonight's stream. Thank you, Roxy and Pickle and Onyx and Asher for joining me. I hope this was as relaxing as it is, and some of y'all are just falling asleep. But if not, I will do more if I can. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do more roleplay and do live roleplay sessions and maybe get into accents and butchering French. Because I know Pickle hates when I do that. But in any case, I'm gonna go take a nap and see you all tomorrow. I think I'm doing more D&D tips tomorrow, so hopefully with a louder and clearer non-ASMR voice, so don't worry about it. You wish you can join? Don't worry about it at all, Roxy. I always record these and highlight them. if I remember to highlight them. So you can always go back and watch the VODs. In any case. Night night. See you guys later.